I'd like to start by acknowledging the Turrbal and Yagara people. A bit of history. The Lions first toured Australia.
And 5 points coming up.
There you have it. If that hype reel doesn't get an event not just for Australian rugby, not just for Australia, call on our Queensland Minister for Tourism.
So Deputy Mayor Krista Adams and all of the team from Rugby Australia, particularly acknowledge the Tourism and Events Queensland team here, led by CEO, confirmed on our runway of major sport, including obviously the men's and women's Rugby World Cups in 27.
That we can be here today for this fantastic announcement. Can I welcome you to the Sporting City Hall, and they did a fantastic autograph signing.
Minister for Sport, the Honourable Katrine Hildyard. Minister, are you there?
A full capacity crowd right here at our beautiful Adelaide Oval.
People, and yeah, for the Northern Hemisphere it's the biggest event they have, and certainly for Australia it's a great way to help rugby grow again. We didn't play well against South Africa and Victoria, and against Argentina the game was sitting there for us to win, but we weren't quite good enough. So we've got to learn our lessons quickly. We've got to find a squad of 33.
You might have been a ball boy back in the day for one of the test matches or for another game.
But yes, so 1989, the first test at the Sydney Football Stadium, the first British and Irish Lions test, and I was ball boying for Warringah, so I was only 9, and I got the call up to ball boy the first British and Irish Lions test. So again, I think this whole series is about the connection between those that love rugby from the elderly right through to grassroots, and I had the opportunity.
And that year, England had won the Six Nations, and they'd won it the world together. They'd had 6 games up their sleeve for when we first met them, and we had basically.
By the time you get to the business centre, the quarter final, there's still 8 teams running around, 14 every couple of years. As Nick and Jim talk, massive lead in, and that's going to be an ongoing thing with these sorts of tours. Is you've got to try and work out how we're going to not be at such. I got to play them against Queensland out of Ballymore, and they blew us off the park. And I just remember thinking how quick they were. And
just take to the line, do that. Crazy, you're more physical than anyone. And he got to me and he said, Herbie. And I could see he's forgotten what he's going to say. And then I'm waiting. I said, it's all right, Rod. It's all right, Rod. And I thought...
We've heard about how big it is here. It obviously comes to Australia once every 12 years, but it's every 4 years in the UK.
Back of the mind at the start of that season, that there's a Lions 2 at the end, and their form could push them into selection. But just for everybody in all 4 countries, it is massive. Kind of...
The big talking points was the third test, the selection or the non-selection of Brian O'Driscoll, and Warren Gatland went with pretty much a Welsh 15 for that.
Really well, and I remember everybody saw him afterwards on the computer with Jonathan Davies and Jamie Roberts going through their roles for the game, so he just got his head down and helped the team. That was Gats' way, was if you're not playing well enough, I think someone else is going to be better for the team, then they're in, regardless of reputation. In terms of bringing the lads together,
buzz in Australian rugby, especially in the position I hold. So yeah, that's a no.
In South Africa, the Lions visit our shores every 12 years. Today we have guests from the 1989 series, someone we know who's had a long history with rugby, but also quite a deep history with the Lions. If I think back to 2001, coached the Brumbies and Australia A against the Lions on that tour, and you've coached in the UK, so you know about the fabric of rugby in the home nations, as they're called. Just how massive an occasion is it for the Lions to be coming back here, and how big an occasion is for the whole country in 2025?
Yeah, well, I think, when you get the Lions in a country, it becomes a whole drama. Yeah, you get the run of the warm-up tests, then you get the 3 tests, and it really captures the imagination of people. And for the Northern Hemisphere, it's the biggest event they have, and certainly for Australia, it's a great way to help rugby grow again.